everybody, to the very next episode of The Remedy with Tovacito and
Janice Gant.
And
Kevin?
Yeah!
I'm not usually part of the intro.
You need to be,
you
though.
are
You always
today.
caught me off guard.
Kevin, I love how you. Who the hell else is in here?
I don't know why I put a question mark on that.
That's so funny.
I am here.
I just felt like doing that today.
You do that intro a lot better than I do.
Oh, that's not true.
Oh, it is true. You when you weren't here last time and I did it, I was like, it was awkward.
It wasn't awkward.
grief.
Tova's had more practice, though.
She has had good practice. I love her having that job. It's better.
Well, Anna Prin, I can't hear myself well, Kev.
I'll keep adjusting.
Yeah, if you could turn
Now
it
I
up.
can't me either quite as much.
Anyway, Anna Prin had a speech academic decathlon this weekend, and she came in first place.
She did?
And I was like, well, that apple didn't fall far from
So
the tree.
what was her speech about?
So you had to choose so that you competed against other DISD schools. You had to choose between 3 different topics. And then you had 30 minutes to write a 7-minute persuasive speech.
Oh my.
And then you had to present it. And so she chose, should college students have to pay off their student loans? And she said no. I was
she
like,
did.
of course you did.
Just in case, just putting that out there.
Persuade them?
Do you hear yourself well now?
Not amazing.
I don't either.
I have you all the way cranked. I don't know what's going on with that.
Oh well,
We'll figure it out.
It's recording.
I mean, people can turn it up on their end.
now you're clear.
I also have a little bit of a cold, and so I could have all stuffy ears.
It just has to do with your headphones. I mean, it's being recorded plenty loud. I promise you
No,
that.
it's fine. I'm sure it's more than fine.
So we don't need to yell.
No. You guys got plenty of volume.
Okay, so today we need to thank our sponsor, Sweet Jacqueline Osman. What a beautiful name.
Oh, hold on, Tove. I figured it out.
Hello. Oh, there you
There
are.
we go. Yeah.
Now I'm too loud.
Keep it. Remember, I had to move everything back in here and rewire it the
Okay.
other day. So.
Now you can turn me down a little bit. Now it's a bit much. Perfect. Thanks, Kev.
No problem.
One Scotiaire.
Okay.
Jacqueline Osman listens to us from Arlington, and she sent the sweetest note to
Oh,
us.
how nice,
to be.
Jacqueline.
So thank you. Isn't that a pretty name? I just think that's an elegant
It's such
name.
a pretty name. Some of my favorite people. I know like 4 Jacquelines, and they're all lovely.
Yeah. I think you have to be lovely
I do too.
if your name is Jacqueline.
I may change my name. Jacqueline Gant.
Jacqueline Gant.
Maybe
That
it'll
sounds
be
famous.
Jacqueline Gaunt.
Yeah, for sure, Gaunt.
But then I always
Gaunt.
think of those people that are, hallowed chick.
Emaciated.
Yeah.
Don't eat.
Don't eat.
I don't know. You're pretty skinny.
Listen, I eat, girl. I just intermittent fast.
It works. You and your baby girl. I asked her one day, how do you do it? What is the secret? She said, intermittent fasting. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being our sponsor, Jacqueline. And if you are interested in sponsoring the next episode of The Remedy, if you are loving what we're doing and it's blessing you, we would really appreciate it. All you have to do is go to tovacito.com, click on The Remedy, or you can Venmo us at Tova-Cito. Okay, so I'm super excited about what we're planning for the next few weeks. So Janice and I first of all, we love spring. Why do you love spring?
Because of the flowers and the trees budding and just the thinking about the summer and being at the lake and water skiing and all of those fun things. I love hanging out with my grandkids in the summer and going to the swimming pool with them, and I just really like the days are longer. I love daylight savings time.
I love spring too.
And it's just, I don't know. It's
It's happy
It is happy
and hopeful.
and hopeful. Yeah. It really is.
The first time, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who thinks like this, but I'm telling you, that first time that I get in my car in my driveway and I look up and I see my red oak and my Japanese maple with those itsy bitsy little, I'm like, yay!
The
Like,
buds.
yes.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, it's coming. Like, that is such an exciting moment for me every single year.
It really is.
When the first time that you see the first bud, it's just awesome.
You know, the universe was brilliant in this scheme.
Yes.
Because then, you know, this is the hope. Okay, we're about to bud. It's going to be fun. And then you get through the summer, and then people get kind of tired of the heat. And then you go into fall, and then the trees turn. But you know that the spring is going to come again. It's brilliant.
It is.
So brilliant.
I just think I love the metaphor of life that is the seasons. I mean, you know, we wouldn't know any different if we didn't have seasons, but how beautiful that we know, like, that spring is coming. You know, it may be winter, but spring is coming, and summer will come after that, and then the fall is just by the time the fall comes, you're so ready for the fall.
Yes.
You're kind of over the summer,
Right.
even though you couldn't wait for the summer in the spring. It's such a beautiful metaphor for life.
It is.
Can we all agree winter is the worst season?
It's my least favorite.
Me too.
But I still like it.
Yeah, I do too. When it gets cold, and then you get to wear all of those coats
Yummy
and
things.
and you can cuddle up, and it's
fire.
fun. Hop in the bed and have like 4 layers of stuff on you, and
Yes.
yeah.
And
but I don't love, because I don't love, like, I don't snow ski anymore, or you know, so I don't love the snow. I don't like the sound of it when you walk on it.
I love that sound.
That's such a funny thing to say.
But I do like it when it turns cold.
Yeah, I do too. I love firewood. I love snuggling up. I love blankets. I don't know. And you know, when I wrote my book, Borrowed Courage, I remember a part of my book that I wrote when Charlie was dying. It felt like winter.
What time of the year was
He
it?
died in August. He died August 31st. But you know, so we were at the end of summer and fall came, and then winter, and that's when I really thought, gosh, the seasons are such a metaphor of life, and yet I couldn't ignore that spring came again, that everything came back to life and everything bloomed. And
By the time spring came, where were you in your grief?
Well, that's a tough one after Charlie, because when Charlie died August 31st, then my mom really went downhill. She had been battling cancer. So she died in December. She died December 23rd that same year. And so it wasn't pretty.
What month was Charlie born in?
He was born in January.
Okay.
He was born January 9th, 2003. Excuse me. And then he passed away August 31st. So just a little over 8 months. And then my mom. So it was not good.
That is a heavy burden.
It was not good.
You know, Tova, I was thinking about you the other day. I did a writer's workshop this weekend for
Ooh.
14 hours.
Wow.
I know. It was great, though, because I'm going to go to Florida and try to finish my book. Or actually, I'm not going to try to finish it. I'm going to write my book proposal. That's my goal. But I was thinking about you and how you are so when you were writing your book, how you had to walk back through that journey in order to write about it. And I'm sure that probably triggered some of your pain again, and you probably had just another layer of grief. But you are probably one of the most positive people I have ever known. You're probably one of the most joyful people I have ever known. And I mean, you truly are a miracle.
Oh,
and it's
goodness, that
just,
is so
well,
nice.
it's so true.
That is very nice of you
Well,
to say that.
it is. It's just really true. You've affected so many people, and what you had to go through, because I love you, and it makes me sad.
Well, I don't know. There's not one, not that you're asking, but there's not one certain particular thing. I think I really went through the seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I allowed myself to grieve. But gosh, I think about, I was in Rosemary Beach over spring break, and that, I can barely talk about it, but that was the last, that was one of the last, like, sweet moments that I had with Charlie.
You were there?
That beach.
Oh.
And it's where I gave him permission to die. We had like the sweetest, he was in the Bajorn. We went on this walk down the beach, and I told him everything I thought about him, everything I loved about him. And I just told him it was okay to go. And we got home from that trip on a Saturday or Sunday, and that next week he passed away. And that's the last smile I ever got was, and I was sitting there with some girlfriends, and they were asking me about Charlie and Louisa, and I said it's actually this beach that I had my last big conversation with Charlie. And I cried and cried and cried like a baby talking to those moms. And it was so interesting because I don't have that it's in me, but I don't cry every day at all.
No.
Not at all. And I have so much more joy than I do sadness about all of it. But I am who I am today because of my children, all 5 of them, all
Yes.
6 of them.
Yeah.
And I have the joy that I have because of them. And I was telling them, they didn't know me. This group of moms didn't know me before my children, and I wasn't a horrible person.
They didn't know you
didn't.
before Charlie was born or anything?
No, they never met Charlie and Louisa. They never knew me during this season of my life. But I was just a different person. And, I do believe that, and I know you feel this too, about every hard thing that you've ever been through. If you let it, if you allow it, it can really shape you and change you and mold you and teach you into being something that you never imagined. I am 1,000 times better because of
Of course.
the hard
Yeah.
in my life.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for it.
No, you do get to that point.
Yeah.
If you're open to it, I think, and if you lean into it. And I came to believe when, of course, what I experienced pales in comparison to the level of pain that you had. I did have a miscarriage, and actually I had 2. I had one before Bren and one before Wes. And I know that I would not have had the experience of Bren and Wesley, and probably not Blair either, because of the timing and so you do become grateful for it. And you
do.
look at what you've done with your sweet kids now, and that experience that is rich beyond measure, and changed 3 lives that would have never had the opportunity to experience. And I love, there's a saying, well, it's scripture, all things work together for good to those that love God.
Yeah.
And I do believe that. I don't believe that I don't think God said, okay, Toa, hold on, sister. You know, I'm going to put you through a ride. But I think the whole time you were on that ride, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, was saying, I gotcha.
Totally.
Just stay with me.
Yeah. And Charlie and Lou are so a part of, I mean, yesterday I was playing golf and I looked down in the middle of the fairway. Pennies always remind me of Charlie. In the middle of the fairway, my ball hit
A penny?
a penny. I mean, I was like, why is there a penny in the middle of the fairway and it's an inch from my ball? And that stuff happens to me all the time. And that is God's evidence. That is evidence of their spirits around me. I know it. I feel it. I sense it. I just think we have to be open to it. I love when you use the word transition because that is exactly what happens to us when we die. We do not
There is
die.
no death.
I hate the word die.
I don't
It's
like
not
it either.
She passed away. She's gone. She's dead.
Oh, she just transitioned.
She just transitioned. We've got to start a movement to stop using those words. They are not lost. They have not passed away. They're not gone. They didn't die. They just transitioned.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful word.
It is a wonderful, wonderful word. I started using that several years ago, and it really made such a difference when when my dad transitioned. I think that may have been when I started using that, but when my mother did, I remember sitting at her memorial service thinking, my mom is probably sitting right here next to me, that she's not gone. She has just changed forms.
Yeah. I really hated when people said she lost her son. I didn't lose my son. I know exactly where he is. You know? It's not those are not good words. We need to lose those words.
We do. We do.
Okay, so we have already spent so much. We went on a big old tangent.
We
there,
did
but
go
I'm
on a tangent, but I
grateful for
like it.
Me too. And I'm really excited because the whole point of what we're going to do over the next month is talk about abundance, springing into abundance. You and I are huge believers in God's word when he said, I didn't come here to just give you life. I came to give you abundant life, overflowing, immeasurable, spewing, big. And I was even thinking about it this morning. Like when I think about abundance, I just think of rich and beautiful and happy and more than we could ever imagine, more than we could ever need. And I look at you and I mean, we're not the person in the room. We're not the smartest. We're not the most beautiful. Although we're pretty close. Don't worry.
I think you are.
I think you are.
Okay, then we are. Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, as long as I'm included in that.
You are. You are.
But we feel like we are. We feel like you and I, with all of our flaws and all of our weaknesses, I think that if you and I get one thing right, it is this belief that we are entitled and blessed with great abundance.
It is our birthright because we are children of divinity, the
Yes.
King.
Yes.
And I love it. And that's all it takes.
Yeah.
Even if we mess up or we don't believe it all the time or we are unkind to somebody on occasion or whatever that is, it doesn't matter. We can't, when you think about our birthright, it's ours.
Yeah.
All we have to do is ask for it and then take it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to talk about too in the month of April, is we're going to really delve into that, and how can we help other people to create that belief about abundant life in all areas. And
All
it's
areas.
not just, it does include financial. It does include friendships. It
Yes.
includes joy. It includes health.
Relationships. Health.
All of it.
Yes, I love
yeah. So it's going to be fun, I think.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it because I really believe in it.
Me too. And I think coming out of the COVID thing, that it feels like that we're coming out of the depths of the fear around it,
Yeah.
since people are getting vaccinated and stuff.
Yep.
And so I think it's kind of the perfect time to spring forward in this, people really learning how to nurture that part of themselves.
Yeah.
Because I think most of us were not taught that.
No.
I was taught, don't be selfish, don't be greedy. I think I've said before, I know I've said it to you. I remember sitting in that Baptist church, and the missionaries were up there and with
You're like, that sounds miserable. They
bad
look
hair
miserable.
and sensible shoes. And I'm like, oh gosh, I hope God doesn't like me that much. Sends me out. And so I think it'll be really fun for us to do that.
I recently was interviewed for a magazine.
Oh,
here
what
in Dallas.
magazine?
Voyage, something Voyage.
Not
And-
voyeur.
Not Voyage. We could talk about that though. I'm just kidding. It one of the questions that they asked me was, what makes you unique about what you do? And I said, well, I'm a pastor, but I cuss and I drink and I sin, and I'll talk about all of it.
And I enjoy it.
And the person who interviewed me laughed so hard. They're like, yeah, so they hadn't met me before, and they were like, yeah, I was not expecting you.
Now, I'm sure they were.
I was like, sorry.
Oh, that's great.
Sorry, I'm not sorry.
Did you work in a plug for the Remedy?
I did. Of course I
good.
did. I'll send y'all the article.
Yeah, that'd be
Oh,
great.
good.
Yeah,
Good.
I'll send it. I thought I sent it to you. I didn't.
I don't think so.
Oh, I thought I sent it to y'all.
No.
No, I would have seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't. No, I haven't. Not, okay, I'll send it to you.
right.
I'll send it to you. Even it has the picture of the Remedy.
Oh, that's
with
awesome.
Tobin and Janice. Yeah, it has talks all about the
Nice.
Remedy. Yeah. Okay. So today we're gonna break this down into different topics, different sections. But we thought today to start, and I think this is an amazing place to start, is addressing this whole idea of our inner child and family of origin stuff. And I know for me, I can just, before I met you, Janice, I'd never heard of doing your family of origin work. I never knew about my inner child. Those were all really foreign topics to me. But they've been life-changing to learn about, and it's changed everything about my life. And so how would you define, if somebody were, well, I'm just going to ask you, what is the inner child? What does that even mean?
I think it is the affected part of ourselves that we carry with us based on what behaviors, attitudes, and situations we experienced as children. Because if we take that with us, because we are conditioned creatures. In my book,
The Shame Game?
The Shame Game, one of the things I talk about, and I can picture it so clearly, when Owen, my oldest grandson, was probably, I don't know, 4 months old. I remember him sitting in an infant seat on my kitchen counter and just smiling, and his hands would circle and his feet would circle. He was so joyful, just full of joy. And it was spontaneous joy. And I remember thinking, that's what we're born with. That, and I talk about it in my book because it's like that is our true nature. But
Every single one of us.
every single one of us.
Yeah.
Because a child is not looking around the room thinking, oh, God, this place is a dump. Why didn't I get born into a mansion? But no, the child's being is, and I always think of a being with a capital B. That being, that spirit of that child is joyful. But because of the world and parenting and all sorts of things that happen, that gets muted or altered, or we forget about it. And so the inner child work is looking at those aspects of our world that are fear-based, maybe anger-based, lack of self-esteem, lack of the understanding of our nature as being born to receive abundance. And if we don't realize that we are carrying that around with us and where it came from, then we're still stuck in it. And I have experiences all the time when I might be thinking I'm not doing well enough, or I'm not being kind enough, or I'm being self-centered, or it's all about me, or whatever. And I have to stop and think, okay, now wait. Is that the adult me, or is that the child me? And I know we've talked about this before on the show, but learning where those little pieces are from sets you free from it. Because then I can be like, oh gosh, well, that's that, fifth grader singing the Battle Hymn of the Republic in front of the elementary school. And being embarrassed because I had to say the word in the glory of his bosom. I was mortified. But the whole performance aspect of it, my value was based around that. And that's a lot of what I learned growing up. And I adored my parents, but that's how they were taught. Be nice. Don't let people see you. Don't be unhappy. Make sure if you're performing that you're doing a good job, and be pretty and be skinny and all of those different messages. And
like everything and like everyone, and make sure everybody likes you.
Yeah. I'll never forget being told that this one guy asked me to go out to a prom, and I didn't want to go with him. And my mom said, well, you have to go with the first person that asks you. And I'm like, why? That doesn't make any sense.
It's the dumbest rule of all time.
Dumbest rule. You don't want to go with him. And I went, and he freaking took me parking. And I didn't want to kiss him. It was just awful. But all of those messages that we find ourselves slipping back in, and the way you learn to recognize it is you start feeling less than.
That's a really good tip.
So
you know that you are experiencing something from your inner child, something from your childhood, an old familiar feeling when you are feeling less than.
Right. And then I'll say to myself, wait, how old do I feel? It's probably 8 to 13. I've said this before, so if I'm being too repetitive, let me know. I had brown stain on my teeth because of the fluoride, People teased me and said I smoked cigarettes. And I wasn't smoking yet in fifth grade. But so then I can recognize that, and then, then I will go through the process of putting my arms around that little girl. I've got pictures of myself in my bathroom and in my laundry room where my office is. And, so I know what that is. And then I condition that thought, which is, oh no, that's what that little girl thought she had to do, but that's not what I have to do.
Because I'm an adult.
Because I'm an adult now, and I don't have to say yes if somebody asks me to do something and I don't want to do it.
You can be true to yourself.
I can
You
be true to
honest about
myself.
what you want.
That's right.
You don't have to spend the rest of your life shitting yourself.
Yeah, no, and I don't have to like every single person. I do believe that I'm supposed to be kind to people.
Sure.
But, so that's what that is for me. What do you think about that? Is that what you think it is?
The inner child? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, we've talked about the Enneagram here
Yeah.
on the podcast before. But so one of the things when I do premarital counseling is I have the couples go through the Enneagram, read the book, kind of diagnose themselves, what number feels familiar. And there's 9 different numbers for people who are not familiar with the Enneagram. There's 9 different numbers that the person who created this said that every single person in the world falls into one of these 9. So there's the peacemaker, there's the loyalist, there's the helper, there's the perfectionist. And the reason that I love the Enneagram so much is it opens the door for me to talk about the inner child. Because I'm a 7, I'm an enthusiast, but I wasn't born a 7. I survived as a 7 as a child. And my brother is a perfectionist. He's a 1 because he survived as a child in our home by being a 1. So if he was perfect and he did all the right things, then he felt valued and loved.
And also that he calmed the system down.
Yes.
The
absolutely.
big people were
Yes.
because of his
more
perfectionism.
predictable when he was perfect. And I controlled my environment, or I thought I controlled my environment by being an enthusiast. Everything was awesome. Everything was great. Nothing was ever a problem. We were going to get through it. Of course I want to go. I'm a yes girl, but I became this way because that upped my chances for survival, for lack of a better word.
It's a survival technique.
It is a total. And so what it does is it creates compassion in these relationships between these two people. Oh, I understand why everything has to be perfect for her, because even though there's things about there's a shadow side to every single number. The peacemaker, they just want everything to be okay, even if it's not okay, even if there's tension or we need to talk about it. They're going to sweep everything under the rug because that's what they did when they were young. And so what I've learned and what I've really liked about this is it creates an opportunity to have compassion for these little children that live in all of us. And so, yes, I mean, what I have learned about my inner child, I'm for sure an enthusiast. I used to be much more of a people pleaser. Everybody in the room had to be okay so that I could be okay. If everyone was okay, then I could breathe. I don't do that anymore. And I thank God I don't.
Isn't it so difficult to try to make everybody
fucking exhausting?
It is.
That's what it is.
There's that preacher girl.
And I'm starting to sweat because I have such passion about this. But I mean, it's horrible. I feel the most sorry for the number 2s on the Enneagram who are super unhealthy, and they're just helping because that's the only way they know how to be okay. And they I think more than any other number seem to abandon themselves at the cost of everybody else. And I see my precious daughter, she came to me like that. I mean, just always running around, helping, making sure everybody loved her. And she's so much healthier and happier now. She doesn't do that as much, but That was painful.
Didn't your kids have quite a few other siblings?
Oh, they are 3 of 14.
Oh.
But they lived in the orphanage for most of their life. So Anna Prynne had
Just
been,
the three of them together?
the 3 of them and 70 other children.
No, I mean, but just the three from that
Yes.
family lived in the orphanage.
That's right.
So how old were the other kids?
So they had 2 younger than George. So George was maybe 1 or 2 when he first went into the orphanage, and they had not had so they had 2 more children after they took their youngest 3 to the orphanage. So they had 2 younger, and then all the rest are older. And they're all girls except for 1 more boy outside of my 2 boys.
Oh.
Which was interesting that of all the kids that they put in the orphanage, that they'd put their boys in that
I know.
culture, because boys are so like a lot of cultures, they were coveted. You know, they were very. It was a.
Well, maybe do you think they felt like that they would be better cared for in the orphanage?
Oh, for sure.
Because
That's why
they'd
they
have
put 'em there.
enough to eat and
Yeah,
So do they stay in contact with their parents?
they can, but they don't really. They all kind of follow each other on Instagram. Their
They do?
siblings, and we still take care of all the kids that are school age eligible. I take care of them. So they all live in a boarding school or go to college.
So you pay for that?
I pay for that.
Tova, that's so low.
Well, it was actually selfish on my part because I didn't, that whole survivor's guilt is real. And I really thought Anna Prynne would never survive if she knew that she got out and her family was still suffering, that she would never be able to forgive herself.
How old are her parents? Are they both still alive?
Yet they're both still alive and they're both old. So 10 years ago when we adopted them, the dad was 66 and the mom was 54. And the mom had just there was an 8-month-old and she was 53.
Oh my gosh.
That is real.
That makes me tired.
That sounds miserable. I'm about to get my 3 out. I can't imagine. That's me having a baby in 3 years.
Yeah.
Nursing. Hell no. That's a big no.
Don't do it.
Don't
if you're
worry.
even thinking
I
about
can't. I can't. It's all tied up.
Good.
It's
That
all
is
shut
good.
down.
Is that TMI, Kevin?
No. That's not that big of a deal.
Well, anyway, I don't know what.
So Kevin, where do you see yourself as being from your childhood? What do you see yourself acting out in?
God, it's so weird as an adult, or in my later second half of my life, I guess. I'm definitely a 3 Enneagram, but I was not an achiever growing up, and I was much more
And
of
the
a
3 is
4.
the performer.
Yeah.
You always performed well because that's what.
And I wasn't like that as a kid. I was definitely a 4. I was more creative, dramatic expression, kind of, self-centered, I guess. So I don't know how that happens that you evolve into a different
can.
number, but
You can't. Totally.
Well,
That definitely
because
happened with me.
the family system is continually, if the family system starts to change, then the family members start to change as another way to adapt, maybe differently as you get a little older, because the system changes.
I really believe that learning, the little girl in me, understanding the things about me that were learned to survive and get through, and I don't know what other words to use, but I think I know for me it's been an incredibly powerful exercise, because when I start, and I'd be interested to hear what you two think and experience when you said one of the keys or one of the clues of that what you're feeling or what you're experiencing as your inner child is you feel less than. I start and maybe it's a result of feeling less than, but when I know that this is little girl Tova and not adult Tova, I start to feel anxious. And I start to want to leave whatever the situation is. I get that feeling that I want to abort. I want to get out.
So is that a little girl or is that a adolescent? For me, that's the adolescent, Sally Wright's house. You know, is I want to run. And if I feel like I need to run, although I did run away when I was little. I ran away when I was like 4. Went around the block with my caboodle kit with clean panties and a lipstick.
Well, you were prepared.
Well, and that's kind of still how I roll.
Lipstick and some extra panties. What you got in your purse over there?
Well, no extra panties because I haven't been wedding lately. But I dadgum sure have lipstick in there.
That is so funny. Oh
my
God,
caboodle kit.
Adorable. That's adorable. I was often scared as a child. My home was not safe.
Did your parents yell at each other?
Yes, and they yelled at us. Dad didn't yell. Mom was a total rager and physically very abusive. And so home was so scary for me.
God, it's like the exact opposite for me.
I know. When you talk about your childhood, I'm like, you are the freaking luckiest.
No, school's like the scary place. I always wanted to stay home sick because home is a safe place.
So why was school scary?
Because it wasn't home.
Yeah, and
Because home was
it
just
happened
better.
more, I guess, when we would move somewhere, you know. And you're
Did
going
you
to like a
move
new
a lot?
school. Not a lot, but a couple times. And it's so weird though to move to a new school. I don't know. I think it is.
How
scary.
old
School's
were
a
you when
scary
you
place.
moved?
The first time I was 10, and then when we moved back here, I was 13, something like that.
Yeah, both those ages would be highly impacted by a move. Whereas if you were 6, it wouldn't be as great of an
Traumatic, yeah.
impact.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
But
Yeah.
that's, I mean, I can't imagine what it's like to be you, Tove, and have home be a scary place.
It was awful.
I can't
Home
imagine.
was very, 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 very scary. In fact, my brother and I were talking because my house is the house. Like all my kids want to be at my house, and their friends want to be at the. And I have been very intentional about the kind of home and family and mom because I wanted to create. I mean, Craig, whose parents are still alive, and I could get like real choked up talking about how sweet, kind. His mom is the most loving, like the most loving, and the dad has always been the protector, and it's just it's a very safe system. It's a very safe system, and it is so easy for me to see like what a safe system does for an adult because they're rooted. Craig is rooted. He's confident. He's unapologetic. He's not a pleaser. He's kind, but he just has this foundation. I had to really go through a lot to find that in myself. I had to teach myself that as an adult because I was just floundering. You know, I was a ping pong ball for years in my 20s because I had no idea who I was because the only thing I knew was how to be what everybody wanted me to be so that I could be okay. Mm-hmm. Because if I thought you were okay with who I was, and I was okay with who I was. And that was awful. I mean, but I had no idea I was even living like that. You don't know until you know.
Well, that's your normal.
Yeah, it was totally my normal. And so the value of understanding that even as adults, we have tendencies, we I mean, you're not cured from your inner child.
Well, you don't need to be cured from it.
Yeah.
You just need to understand it and
That's it.
embrace it, and then exercise the adult part of you.
Yes.
That will typically be opposite from the inner child. If there's a pain point in the early childhood or adolescent period of your life that is acting itself out in your adult relationships or your adult experiences, then the recognition of it is what you have that aha. Oh, I get it. That's why I tend to do that. Okay, well, then in my adult self, I say, okay, well, so what is the adult response to what would that be? And typically, we know what that would be.
I was about to ask that. Do you think that even though our inner child at times, especially when we're unaware of it, it can be our default?
Uh-huh.
We can just
sure.
default to those feelings, behaviors. So the aha, how do you take it from, oh, that's little girl scared Tova? How do you take it from an aha moment and change the behavior? How do you encourage that with your clients?
Well, I think that, okay, let's take you. So let's say you have an experience and you don't feel safe. Let's say it's in a relationship or an experience that you have, and then you feel like running because you're trying to get the heck out of Dodge so you don't have to experience that fear that you had when you were little. So typically, if we stop and we ask ourselves, wait, what's real about this? Now, if somebody's chasing you around your house with a butcher knife or has a baseball bat at your head, then that you need that the adult part of you would run also. So you look at it and you identify the behavior as being childhood or a real threat, because a lot of our anxiety as adults are child-based anxieties that are not real.
Wow, that's powerful.
So if you well, there was a terrible tornado in Lubbock when I was a senior in high school. And my friend and I was a senior in high school. My friend and I were driving down the street, and I mean, there were a lot of people that were killed. My mother and dad were freaked out. It was a terrible, terrible tornado. And so as a post-traumatic stress reaction to that, for several years, if there were dark clouds in the sky, I felt anxious. So I was reliving the anxiety of the high school girl. And then then you can ask yourself, all right, so is my reactivity to this situation, is this real in right now, or is this a trigger for something that I experienced earlier? So, like when the last October, when we had the really bad tornado, here, I mean, if the sirens go off, I am in the closet with the pillow. Yes.
Wow.
Now that's part of that child, but it's also part of the adult me. Because I'm
It's a great example.
yeah. So the adult me would still go to the closet. The I get there fast though.
The little girl might be the one who got there real fast.
Pushing everybody else out of the closet.
Kicking Tom to the curb on your way.
One time I had Skylar and Charlie May, and we were at the movie at the Village, and there was a tornado siren, and this was before the big Dallas terrible one. And I mean, we got home. I had pizza that I'd picked up, and I mean, we ate the pizza in the closet. Tom was like, I don't know that we really need to still be in here. I'm like, yes, we do. We're going to eat the pizza in here. And the girls were like, okay.
They probably thought it was so fun. Our grandma, Tutu's a blast. We eat pizza in closets. That's adorable.
So some of it can be blended a little bit. But when you start to practice that, You know, like if people have a negative perception of themselves, like let's say somebody's in their 60s and they're getting a divorce and they think, oh my gosh, I'll never find anybody. I'm too old, or I'm not enough, or whatever that is. That's going to be a child. You know, I mean, the adult part might be like, okay, I'm not exactly sure how I want this to be, but I'll investigate a dating service, or, you know, or maybe, you know, going out with friends or telling people, yeah, I want to date. So, you know, it just depends on the extremity of the behaviors. Typically will be a really good clue. Eating pizza in the closet could have been a little over the top. But in October, that, I mean, I was in there, you know, because there was
real.
reason. They were saying there are tornadoes that are on the ground in Dallas, you know. So that's how you really kind of learn to do it. And the more you do it, the better at it you become.
Yeah.
And then you can think, okay, is this the adult? I don't know, maybe, but there could be a combination. Or, you know, if I'm ready to, you know, if a friend does something and I don't like it and I'm ready to, you know, never see him again, that's a teenager.
Yes.
And then I'm like,
Yes.
yeah, that's so ridiculous. You're not going to do that.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that you taught me years ago that I really loved, and we've said it here on the podcast before, but a thing that you have put in my head, and that really, I mean, I use it all the time in my self-talk, is you can't get in trouble.
Yeah.
Tova. Because I was always in trouble as a kid. I was, no matter what I did, it wasn't the right thing. And so I was always in trouble, and I did not have the confidence to do what I wanted to do.
Well, you couldn't.
I couldn't do what I wanted.
Because you would have been in trouble.
Right. Because I would have been, so I didn't have any idea what I wanted, what I really liked, who I really wanted to be friends with, because I just needed everybody to be okay so I could be okay.
And so as an adult, people might not like your decision or your because of what you're choosing to do, but you can't get in trouble. You can't get a spanking unless you're into that weird stuff. You can't get grounded. You can't lose your car. You know, none of those things.
And if somebody gets angry with me,
that's okay too.
that's okay too. And I can handle it, and it's all gonna, that seems so silly because of course I'm an adult, and that's really helped my brother too. Like, we talk about it all the time.
Well, and you know, when the one of the things that I learned to do, because I do tend to do what you talked about and run away, get away, get out of it, end it, over, done because of something, then what I do is I will talk to my 12-year-old or 15-year-old and tell her that I will leave a situation if it's not right for me, so that she doesn't just want to bolt out the door the minute something goes awry, but so that she feels confident that, yeah, I would leave. I would leave a relationship. I would leave a friendship. I would leave a dangerous situation, you know, and even though people might not be happy with me for doing that.
Yeah.
So that's helpful too, because those kids, the safety, next to food and shelter and water, safety is our most basic human need according to Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. You know, so safety is essential, and that's all those little kids want to feel is safe. If a child feels safe, they're good to go. Yeah, they get in trouble and they may cry and they may have to go to their room, but they feel safe. They don't feel like their parents are going to go psycho on them, or hit them with instruments or hit them, period.
Yeah.
You know, so if you can breathe that safety in yourself, then those little kids can just hunker down in your heart and just sit there and watch you do your life. It's a fantastically empowering,
liberating,
realization and liberating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is such a step to abundance. It's
is.
essential. It really
Kind of has to
essential.
come first because you'll
Yeah.
talk yourself out of deserving it.
Yeah.
Oh, I shouldn't do that. Oh, that's too much. Oh, I want too much. Yeah.
And I would, in order to go through your family of origin and really learn more about your inner child, if somebody is listening and they have not done that, I would really encourage you and contact Janice. Contact Janice, and I know you're not taking new clients, but you
Well-
know plenty of people who are trained in this practice.
Well, plus in my book, there is a step
Yes.
by step
Yes.
by step there are activities at the end of every chapter, and then there is a timeline that you can fill out on your own, and you will see all of that, and then it tells you what to do with that. And then if you still have questions about it, you can always call me, or you can call somebody else that has experience with it. But really and truly, that will show you what to do.
Yeah, it is true. I read your book, and I need to reread it again. I read it probably 5 or 6 years ago,
Probably.
and it was a life changing. And I took it very seriously. It is. You have to be ready for it.
You do. That's what I was just about to say.
Yeah, you really have to be ready for a new practice and a new exercise and a new way. But if you're ready for it, it is truly liberating and life changing.
Well, and realizing that this is going to lay the groundwork for your receiving abundance.
Yes. Yeah.
It really will, because you won't talk yourself out of it or feel selfish or whatever.
Nope. I'm not.
Uh-uh.
I'm just gonna take it all.
Me neither. See my new tennis shoes?
I do. I love it. But you have so many shoes. I would never know what's new or not new. But I'm digging it. My outfit today is a little suspect.
I like it. It's furry.
It's a little ridiculous.
It is not ridiculous.
Well, Janice, thank you. I
Oh,
think this
thank
is
you.
a
It was
great
really fun.
start to what we're trying to accomplish over the next month. I really believe that, and I do think that if you have not, I don't even think I know, if you have not explored your inner child,
Do it.
really do it.
Mm-hmm.
It is a life altering, life giving practice.
It is.
And it is a practice.
Oh,
I-
it is. It's
I
not.
talk
yeah.
to little Tova all the time. Mm-hmm. So when you see me doing that, don't judge.
Oh, she's talking to herself again.
Thank you, Janice. It was amazing.
Oh, you're welcome,
appreciate
Tova.
it.
Thank you.
Okay, until next week. Y'all
Thank
have
you,
an
Kevin.
amazing week. And yeah, Kevin, thanks.
Thanks, guys. Sorry, I already had my mic turned away.
It's all right. It's all right.